we need to talk about all of the books that I read in January. If you're new here, hi, my name is Michaela. Welcome back to my YouTube channel where we talk about all things books. This is not just my first reading wrap-up of 2025. It is my first reading wrap-up on YouTube. Monthly reading wrap-ups are my favourite videos to make over on Book Talk, and also my favourite videos to actually watch, because I feel like you can get a really good idea of what sort of books that people like and see how similar your tastes actually are. So I'm so excited to make this. As always, thank you so much for being here. Please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I am having so much fun here and I hope you're enjoying my videos. Okay, we're gonna do stats. We're gonna do the 7 books I read. I'm also going to do my February reading plans, but everything's going to have timestamps down below, so if you want to skip ahead, feel free to do so, and let's get into it. Now, in January, I read 7 books. My average is usually around 10 books a month, so it is a bit lower than usual, but that is absolutely fine. I've had such a busy month. It was my birthday month, I went away, and yeah, I just didn't get around to reading as many books as I usually do. But again, that is totally fine. Because at the end of the day, it's all about the quality of books I'm reading. And I read some really good books. My average rating for the month was 3.79, which is actually quite high for me because I think I'm quite a harsh rater. I don't give 5 stars out easily. I give a lot of 4, but 5 stars are hard to come by. And this month, I think I had like 2, 4, and you're going to find out. Every single book I read was a fiction book, which isn't shocking to me, to be honest, because honestly, I only really read fiction. I try and make a conscious effort every year to read more non-fiction, and it just doesn't happen. And 86% of the books I read on Kindle, and 14% I read on audio. So effectively, 1 I did on audio. The rest were on my Kindle. So now, I only really read books on my Kindle, which you might be thinking, well, why do you have physical copies of these books? Listen, I don't know what to tell you. It's a problem. The genre breakdown is always going to be mainly thriller. It's just the way it's going to be towards the end of the year. But there is some other ones in there, like LGBTQIA. There was 2 of those. Historical, 2 of those. And I'm just loving getting in like my historical era. 2025 going to be my historical era. Watch this space. One of the books I read was under 300 pages, but I actually think that's wrong when I looked at it, because I use Storygraph for all my stats, but I think that's wrong because the physical copy is more than 300 pages, but I did read it on my Kindle, so I don't know. And the rest were between 300 and 500 pages, which is the majority of the books that I read. Big books intimidate me, all right? So that's all the stats out the way. Now let's get into the actual book reviews. What you're here for. My first book of the year, I think, was Grady Hendrix's Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. And I was a bit apprehensive going into this book because I've only ever read, I didn't even finish it, 1 book by Grady Hendrix, and that was How to Sell a Haunted House, and I DNF'd it at like 70%, I want to say, so I wasn't really sure what to expect, and I'd also heard mixed things on people reviewing this book. This follows a girl called Fern who is 15 and pregnant. Now, it's set in the 1970s, so if you're pregnant at 15 in the 1970s and you're unwed, that's a recipe for disaster. So basically, the book starts out and her dad is taking her to Florida to a home for like unwed pregnant mothers. This home is full of young girls who have gotten pregnant and their parents have sent them there to hide them away, have their babies in secret, and then give their babies away for adoption. And then they're just expected to go home like nothing has ever happened. And like the 1970s wasn't even that long ago. And like this actually happened. And it honestly, the book made me mad, but not like in the way of the book. Like the topic of the book was just making me mad because I was thinking, oh my God, like this actually happened to people back in the day. Like my mum and dad were alive in the 1970s. It really wasn't that long ago. I'm going off topic, but basically they meet a woman who comes along in her mobile library and she gives the girls a book all about witchcraft, and shit goes down from there. I was a bit worried going into this because I thought, God, Grady Hendrix, a man, like writing about such a sensitive topic for women. But you know what? He absolutely smashed it. You can just tell that so much research and care was put into this book. I loved it. It made me feel so many different types of emotions. It was amazing. The cast of characters you meet, the girls you meet in the home are all just the most amazing characters. There's also some pretty fucking horrible characters in there as well, but honestly, it was so good. I gave it 4 stars. That was probably harsh. I reckon I could probably up it to like 4.5. I think I was ill when I was reading it, which didn't help. I have got a reading vlog of me reading this book, and yeah, it was incredible. I highly recommend you go and read this book. People have said that it's not witchy enough, and like I do see where they're coming from with that. Because the second half of the book does lose its witchiness, but I feel like what the book's still doing, it didn't need it. For me, personally, anyway. And now I feel like I need to go back and read some more of Grady Hendrix's book, because honestly, like, after DNFing How to Sell a Haunted House, it put me off. But now, consider me intrigued. Right, I feel like we need to balance it out. That was a good review. This is going to be a bad review. This is The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. This was the winner of the Goodreads Choice Awards for the mystery and thriller category. And all I've got to say is, no, reading is subjective, and at the end of the day, just because I didn't like it, obviously loads of people did. Although, to be fair, when I spoke about it on my book talk, like, so many people in the comments said that they also hated this. So, like, I mean... But I think it's still important to talk about negative book reviews, because the reason that I didn't like a book may be the reason that you absolutely loved it. And obviously this is nothing against the author, it's just the book. The book follows a girl that's gone missing at a summer camp and nobody knows where she is. But it turns out that her brother also went missing 14 years ago. And they're from like this rich, influential, powerful family. So people are thinking it's a bit dodgy, like the brother's gone missing and also now the daughter's gone missing. But my problem with this book was it is told through multiple points of views, which I like, and it's also multiple timelines, which got so confusing because each chapter starts and you'll be with a different character in a different timeline. And I just found myself, I kept on getting lost. I knew going into this that this was more of a literary thriller. So like, that isn't the problem. Like, I quite like literary thrillers. The problem was I just felt like, in my opinion, the book was a mess and I didn't know where I was. When the resolution happened, I couldn't care less, to be perfectly honest with you. Yeah. When I'm struggling with a book, I tend to switch to audio to see if I can like get my interest back. But honestly, doing it on audio was even worse. I think that actually did it a disservice because I found myself getting even more lost. So yeah, I gave this book 2 stars. Do not recommend. And I'm actually really sad about it because the cover of this book is absolutely stunning. Like, I feel like it's like that quite traditional, not traditional, but like quite a classic cover, and then there's just this neon pink drip. I love it, and I'm actually gutted I didn't like it. Because like, I think we never go into a book, do we, not wanting to enjoy it. So when that happens, it is sad. And also, I feel like I've wasted my time. So yeah. If you're looking for a book that is just a fun time, but it's still a mystery, it's still a thriller, but it's just a no thoughts, head empty, great time, you need to read Murder in the Dressing Room by Holly Stars. This cover, I am obsessed. Every time I look at it, I'm like, wow. I'll put a picture of the American cover up here because I do like it, but I don't think I like it as much as the UK, which is strange. That never usually happens for me. But the US cover is giving me, like, do you remember when they had... you had dolls and you could like dress up the dolls? I can't think what the book was called, but it's giving that vibe. But I do prefer the UK cover for once in my life. The best way I can describe this is a camp, fun, cozy mystery. It follows a drag queen named Misty Divine, and she is getting ready to perform one night in the club that she works in when she goes into the owner of the club's dressing room, who is also her drag mum, and she's dead. Misty Divine is shooketh, so she decides that she needs to investigate and find out what happened because the police just don't seem to be taking it very seriously. And I can't explain how much of a good time I had reading this book. Do you know sometimes you just need like a little bit of a palate cleanser, like a book that's quite unserious? This is that. It's also just so nice to see representation within thriller books. Like, I don't feel like I've ever seen a drag queen mystery before. I'm sure there is one out there. I'm sure this isn't the first ever one. but I think it's like the first one that's been mainstream published. And like, how good is that? Like, the author, Holly Stars, herself is a drag queen, which we love to see. For all my girlies and boys that love RuPaul's Drag Race, this is RuPaul's Drag Race basically in a thriller book. It's not a thriller, it's a mystery. It's a mystery. The book is actually going to be part of a series as well. So Misty Divine is coming back. There's going to be a book 2. I don't think it's been announced yet officially, but the way that the book ended, there's going to be a sequel. I read this along with Witchcraft and Wayward Girls in a new release thriller reading vlog, so I'll put that up above, but go check that out to see my thoughts while I was reading this. And yeah, go buy this book. Drag isn't just dramatic, it's deadly. I've read a lot of thriller books. I've read a lot of thriller books with unhinged characters. Never have I read a book with a more unhinged character than In the Last Party by A.R. Torre. Me. I don't know how to talk about this book. I don't know how to talk about it. We follow a woman named Perla, and she is obsessed with a serial killer that got put in prison like 20 years before because he killed his daughter and her friends at his daughter's birthday party. Perla is obsessed with this serial killer, like obsessed, and she wants to recreate his crime with her own daughter's birthday party. So essentially, she's plotting to kill her daughter and her daughter's friends at her daughter's, I think it's the 10th birthday party. Like, how do you think of this stuff? We read this book for my in-person book club, and every single person loved it. Now, I don't know what that says about us, but we all loved it. So this isn't just me saying that this was a good book. Actually, I don't think I've seen many bad reviews for it. It's on Kindle Unlimited, so if that gives you an even more excuse to go read it immediately, take it. Do you know when you're just reading a book and you're thinking, oh my God, what am I reading? Like, my jaw was open for most of this book. It's also got really short chapters, which I love in a thriller book. Like, it's a true popcorn thriller. Like, you won't be able to put it down. I need to read more books from A.R. Torre. I've read The Girl in 6E, which I'm obsessed with. If you've not read that book, I never see anybody talking about it. Please go read that book. What else is there? Oh, I read Every Last Secret. I didn't really like that, but I've heard really good things about The Good Lie, so I want to pick that one up because I think that's about a serial killer too. So I also just feel like Perla was just such an interesting character to like be in the mind of. Like, I think that's why I love like these books that are so dark sometimes that it's painful, because like just being inside these people's minds and like obviously like not being able to relate to them at all and thinking, God, there's actually people out there that are like this. Also, does anybody else like love these like Amazon published books? Like they're bigger than normal paperbacks, and just the flop on them, like I literally love them. Yeah, obsessed. Talking about unhinged women, I actually have another book that I read this month which did feature very, very unhinged women. Not quite as unhinged as Perla, but close. And that is Mark Edwards' The Psychopath Next Door. Like, this book, you know what you're getting yourself into when you pick it up. Like, it's clearly about a woman that is a psychopath next door. And we meet this woman, I can't remember her name. She moves next door to a family and they've all just moved into this brand new estate. She's the new next door neighbour. And she starts to become very friendly with, like, the 12-year-old daughter. Not in, like, a creepy way. Kind of in a creepy way, but not, like, in the way that you're thinking. She's just been released from prison, but she's not telling anybody she's just been released from prison. So when we're getting her chapters, we know that she's got a list of 3 people that she wants to take revenge on, but we don't know why and we don't know who. So the book is kind of unraveling to get to that like final scene essentially. And I kind of like that, like when a book, because the book hasn't necessarily got like this big massive shocking twist. Like, it's got a couple of twists along the way, but like you kind of know what you're getting up to, and it's just that dread, that feeling of leading up to it and thinking, oh my God, what is actually going to happen? I just love it. Another author that does this really well is Lisa Jewell. She's another one of my favourite authors, and I think she does this so well But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed my time reading this book. This was another one which I was reading like with my mouth open thinking, oh my God, this woman is insane. I'm a huge fan of Mark Edwards. I actually really, really love his books. And I don't feel like he gets like the love he deserves. I'm trying to like push him down everyone's throat on like Book Talk. So I'm now on booktube to do the same. He was one of the first thriller authors that I actually ever read. I think I started reading his books in like 2016, I want to say, and I'm still absolutely loving his books. This one is on Kindle Unlimited. I think it came out like a couple of days ago. So it's on Kindle Unlimited, and I think it is included with the audio. Also, really excitingly, Mark Edwards has just got his first like traditionally published book deal, which is so exciting because like I said, I've been reading him for such a long time, and I think it's with Pan Mac. He's got a book coming out. It's called The Wasp Nest. I'll put a cover here, and it's coming out in the summer. So that's really exciting that he's just got his first publishing deal, traditional. So again, if you're after like a fast-paced thriller with short chapters, you'll like this book. I'm the sort of reader that doesn't try and pick up on plot holes. I also don't try and guess like where the book is going, because I think like it doesn't take a genius to work out. Do you know what I mean? Like authors are leaving us breadcrumbs all the way through it. And I like to be surprised. So I really, really try and don't think about twists or like if there's a plot hole. Like it's not that serious. Do you know what I mean? But the plot holes in Message Deleted by K.L. Slater, I just couldn't ignore them. And do you know, like when the main character's actions are just like so stupid and you're just like, no, like that just would never happen. Like obviously, I feel like The Last Party, the book that we spoke about just before, I feel like that's supposed to be like quite unbelievable. Do you know what I mean? But I feel like that wasn't what the author was going for in Message Deleted. I feel like we were supposed to maybe relate to the main character, and I was like, no, you are just stupid. Not even just the main character. Like honestly, every single character in this book was just annoying. The first 50% of it, I absolutely loved. Like really, really enjoyed the first 50% actually. And then when like things started unraveling and things were getting explained, I was just thinking, no. It was also 400 pages, like, which it absolutely did not need to be. I hate when like a book, you can just feel like you could have chopped 70 pages out of that and it still would have been the same. Like it just kept going and going and going. This follows a woman who's at a job interview and she sees her phone light up and it's a text message from her friend saying, please come, don't call or text, just come. And then the messages get deleted like instantly, you know, like how you can delete a message on WhatsApp, they just get deleted. So naturally she sacks off her job interview and runs to her friend's house, and her friend's like, what you on about? I didn't send you those messages. She checks her phone, the messages aren't there, but like they're very clearly on our main character's phone. So like, what's going on there? And then 6 hours later, she goes missing. And obviously our main character is the last person to have seen her. So now she is naturally number one suspect. I gave this book 3 stars, but now I'm actually sitting and thinking about it. I really feel like that was quite generous. But like I said, the first 50% I really, really did enjoy. And then it just went a bit off the rails, to be honest. And wouldn't recommend. I think I might need to lower my rating. I actually really want to rant about this book. I feel like it would be like quite cathartic, but obviously spoilers. So if you've read this book, please message me and let me know what you thought of it. Have you ever seen more beautiful sprayed edges in your entire life? No, you haven't. And then we've got the only 5-star book of the month, and that is Somewhere Beyond the Sea by TJ Klune. Now, this is actually the sequel to House in the Cerulean Sea. So if you haven't read that book yet, this is your sign to read that book. I absolutely love it. I feel like this is just going to be a comfort read for me for like ever and always. This is technically classed as a fantasy, but I would definitely call it more of a cozy fantasy. Like I'm not a fantasy reader at all, but there's just something amazing and just something so special about this entire series. I just can't explain how much I love it. It's more than a 5-star book. I won't really get into it because, like I said, it is a sequel, but it essentially picks up exactly where House in the Cerulean Sea finishes. So you definitely do need to read House in the Cerulean Sea first. But just know it follows the most amazing group of children, and I don't even like kids, who are a bit different. Like one of them is the son of Satan, who live in this children's home on an island, and That's all you need to know. That's just, please, please, please read this book. I actually ended up listening to this on audio because I did a reread of House in the Cerulean Sea on audio, and it was the best audiobook I've ever listened to in my life. Like, I feel like it brought all of the characters to life. So I did the same for Somewhere Beyond the Sea, and honestly, like, I'm so glad I did. It was the best decision I made. And if you're going to read it, I would suggest you do it on audio. All of the audiobooks are actually on BookBeat, and I have a free trial like linked down below. So if you want to try it, you can try it there. Now let's talk about all the books that I would like to read in February. And I know you're looking at this thinking, Michaela, you are delusional. And to that I say, yes, I am. I'm going to start with the two that I have to read. So I absolutely will be reading these. And the first one is She's Not Sorry by Mary Kubica. And we're reading this for my online book club. I'll leave my online book club down below. It's completely free to join. Please come along. It's a great time. We read a different thriller book every single month. And I've heard really good things about this. I believe it follows a nurse who is on shift when a woman comes in and she's like tried to jump off a bridge, and they don't know whether she's tried to commit, and she gets herself a bit too involved in what's going on, which is obviously the case because it's a thriller book. And that's all I know, but I'm excited to read it. The next book we're reading for mine and my friends' in-person thriller book club, and that is Delicate Condition by Danielle Valentine. I believe this is a feminist retelling of Rosemary's Baby, and that's all I know. This book was actually the book that the newest season of American Horror Story was based on, which is really cool. I love American Horror Story, and that's all I want to know, to be honest. Yeah. The next book is The Crescent Moon Tea Room, which is a cozy fantasy that I was actually supposed to have read in January with my friend Kel, but honestly, I just didn't get around to it. So I'm really, really going to try and read it in February. She doesn't actually know that we're going to read this in February. So Kel, if you're watching this, we're reading this in February. I believe it's a witchy, cozy fantasy, and I am in my cozy fantasy era, and it just sounds really, really cute. The Daughter by T.M. Logan. This actually comes out in February. I think it comes out in the middle of February. I've got an advanced copy of it, so I really need to try and prioritise reading this so I can get my review up. T.M. Logan just writes like gold star domestic thrillers. Like, that's the best way I can describe it. Like, if you want a good domestic thriller, T.M. Logan's your guy. My copy is also signed because I went to an author signing with him last week, which is so exciting. And I believe this follows a man that goes to pick his daughter up from university, and when he gets there, nobody knows who she is, and she hasn't been there. That sounds exciting, doesn't it? So, really going to try and read this. If I told you I was going to read a book about a man that is turning into a great white shark, what genre would you class that as? Because that's what happens in Shark Heart by Emily Herbeck. That's a bit of a weird premise, isn't it? But apparently this is like meant to be amazing. It's like a bit of a love story about a woman that her husband is turning into a shark. Like a great white shark. I can't take myself seriously right now. I'll report back. I'll let you know. And lastly, I want to see what the book is all about. I want to see what the hype is all about for The List of Suspicious Things by Jenny Godfrey. I believe this is about the Yorkshire Ripper, and two children are trying to like solve the case, or they're doing like a list of things that are suspicious in their area. So it's northern, which I don't know, I really get northern humour. So, and everybody's talking about it, and I've got a bit of FOMO, and I just want to see if I like it. I think it's like the Waterstones thriller of the month as well, and then I got the cute sprayed edge edition from Asda, and I can report back and let you know if I think you should read it. So that's it. That is my January reading wrap up and my February reading plans. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit that subscribe button, and I shall see you next time. These books are fucking heavy.